Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Katelynn, again trying to do the YouTube. Charming. Today I'm in my mom's childhood bedroom. Wow. In my grandpa's house. Wow. I'm speaking softly because I'm worried that my grandpa is still downstairs, even though I know he's in the basement with the TV on and he can't hear. So it's nothing to be worried about, but yet I am. If I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I'm looking at the mirror behind me. Anyway, today's video I'm going to be talking about commuting stories because I have a lot of them because I've been commuting for 6 years and I'm 19. Wow. Which means a lot of weird shit happens because when you're a 15-year-old girl traveling alone into Manhattan every single day in a school uniform, weird stuff can happen. This is supposed to be funny or whatever. So, yeah, without further ado, here are some funny commuting stories or weird shit that's happened to me on public transport. First thing that comes to mind, I was my freshman year. I was in school only a couple of months. I don't know if this matters, but my backpack always weighed like at least 40 pounds. I wonder why I'm not in shape anymore, but like I was carrying around like 40 pounds of textbooks up and down a million flights of stairs every single day for 4 years, and then I went to college and that stopped. I'm like, I don't know why I gained like 20 pounds. That's why. So basically what happened was I was holding onto the subway pole and I was on the 6th train, and if you take the 6th train in Grand Central and you take it uptown, there's kind of like a curve, so the train like goes like this and then it goes like that. Anyway, and usually the train goes pretty gently around the turn, you know, like a responsible train would. But not this day. This day the train made the sharpest turn I have ever experienced, and I flew right into a guy's lap. Like, I flung from the subway pole and just into this guy's lap. And luckily he like laughed it off and wasn't creepy about it, but I was mortified for days and still am a little embarrassed to this day, 6 years later. So yeah, that's one story. Story 2. I have these friends that are twins. They know who they are. My friends, they got on a stop that was after our stop, and they had this amazing habit of losing their fucking monthly train pass, which cost hundreds of dollars to replace. Not if you're them. So they had created this amazing routine of pretending that they had forgotten their wallet when the conductor asked for their ticket, rather than being like, oh, I lost my monthly pass, blah, blah, blah. There was one day specifically where John was beginning to go through the motions, and I could tell he was going through the motions because he starts to, you know, first he checks his wallet, he's looking through his wallet, not there. Checks his pocket, checks his other pocket, starts panicking, checks his pocket, backpack, opens the backpack, and like this whole thing. And the conductor is like waiting there, and it's becoming apparent that his train pass is not to be found. And the conductor is about to open her mouth to, you know, give him shit and be like, dude, you gotta pay for a ticket. And right as she's about to do that, the train runs over like rocks. I want to say it's rocks because that's the only way that you could describe the sound. It's like it runs over rocks and it's like and the train comes to a complete stop in between 2 stations 30 miles from Manhattan, and we're like, cool. The conductor looks up and walks down the aisle to go investigate what's just happened, and the story only gets better from here because the train was very broken apparently. I think we were waiting for like 40 minutes before we could like move again. And the thing that happened that allowed us to, you know, continue our commute was that they got another train to come in front of our train like this. So this is our train, and then it kind of like human centipeded like behind. So we walked from our train and into the new train. It was like very Polar Express, like It was pretty amazing. And all the adults on the train were so fucking pissed. They were like calling their bosses like, we're gonna be late for work, don't fire me. And we're all like in high school. We're like, yay, excuse tardiness. It was great. It was a really good day. Usually conductors, you know, they'd be pretty chill, which kind of reminds me of another story. When I was a sophomore in high school, I was dating this shitbag. He wasn't from Westchester, he's from the Bronx. And one day we were like, hey, you know, like you're in Grand Central with us right now. You know what you should do? You should take the train with us from Grand Central to Harlem, and then you can get on the 4 and go home. And he was like, are you sure? Like, I kind of need a ticket. And we're like, nah, promise. Like, they never check your tickets in between Harlem and Grand Central. Never. And he's like, okay, fine. Sounds good to me. So we all get on the train, whatever. He tries to do the John method. Oh, wait, hold up, back up. So we get on the train, right? The conductor is like a fucking hound dog. Like, imagine a German Shepherd, like, on the scent. Like, this woman was fucking busting down bathroom doors, checking to see if people were sleeping. Like, the reason she was busting down the bathroom doors is because technically you could hide in the bathroom and like evade ticket, like checking for X amount of stops. But this woman was not allowing that to happen, not on her fucking train. And we're seeing this in the distance, and we're all sitting in this 4-seater, and we're like, oh shit, she's gonna catch him. So we watch her busting down the doors like fucking FBI, and she gets to us. So my boyfriend at the time, shitbag, he tries to like do the John thing, which is like check his pockets, whatever, but he's not as convinced. It's pretty bad. And the conductor's like really, like he's like, oh, like just get off at Harlem, like whatever. And she's like, you know what this is called? This is called theft of service. And like, this is 5 years ago. I have not forgot this. She told us that first of all, what we were doing was illegal. I mean, what he was doing and what we had convinced him to do was illegal. And the illegal act is called theft of service, which, true, okay. I don't know why, but like he kept like pretending he didn't have any money to pay for a ticket when he did. And she was like, you guys go to Catholic school? And we're like, yeah, like obviously we're all in our uniforms. Like, she's like, next time make sure to like bring this up in confession. And we're like, oh, she did not just go there. She fucking told him to confess what he had done. You don't bring somebody's religion into that? Like, jeez. Can I get a yikes? So she left. She didn't charge us or anything, which was, you know, yikes. And he felt really bad, so he was like, here's like, just give her the $10. You can like, you know, give me the change next time you see. And so he gets off at Harlem, and the conductor comes back, and we're like, oh, like he wanted to try to pay for the ticket. And she was like, nah, you guys learned your lesson. And we're like, okay. Zwinks. So yeah, that was the thing that happened, and it was pretty bad. One time I was on the train and I was going to my senior pictures. I have makeup on, but not that much, you know. I don't wear that much makeup. I mean, if you watch my other videos and you saw me try to put on makeup, you know damn well I don't fucking do that shit. I don't know what it is, but like when I wear makeup in public, it just, men are just like, wow, oh my god, that's a beautiful woman. But here's the thing, these next 2 stories, I was either 15 or 16. No, I was actually 16 in both. I lied. Story number 4 in the series. Or 5? I forget. I think it's 4. One time I was on the train. I was going to my senior pictures, and this guy sits in the seats across from me. So I'm sitting in a 2-seater, this guy's sitting in a 3-seater across from me, and I'm like, whatever, you know. And this guy goes and looks at me, and he's like, you're beautiful. Like, literally, like, you beautiful, like not beautiful, beautiful. And I'm like, oh, thanks, because I'm 16 and what the fuck else am I supposed to say when a nice young man compliments me and I can't leave the situation, right? And he's like, what's your name? And I'm like, oh, I'm Katelynn. And he tells me his name, and then he reaches his hand out and I'm like, cool. Like, I mean, I'm not like cool, but I'm like, oh, we're shaking hands because we're introducing each other. No, no, no. He takes my hand like this and then goes to try to kiss my hand, and I'm like, no. Like, you know that Vine of that lady on the bus and the guy like puts his hand on her hand and she's just like, that was me. And I was like, I had a boyfriend, because I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was like, oh. And then it was just really weird after that, and he just like got up and left, and I was like, okay, bye. And that's the whole story. Another time, it was for my junior formal, and I was waiting for some people to meet up with some people in Grand Central. I had a nice little dress on, my hair was like looking nice or whatever, like, but you know, I looked like, you know, I think a young lady going to a dance. And this guy walks up to me, he's like, you look nice, and I'm like, oh, thanks. And he's like, oh, like, where are you heading? And I was like, oh, like, I'm heading to a dance. And he was like, oh, like, what kind of dance? I was like, you know, a school dance. And he was like, oh, so like you're a teacher? And I was like, no, I'm like going to the dance. And he's like, oh, he's like, would I get in legal trouble? And I was like, yes. And he was like, okay, bye, nice to meet you. And I was like, nice to meet you too, bye. And it was really awkward, but like, I appreciated that though, because like, you know, he figured out that I was, you know, underage, and he left me alone, which, thanks, man. If you're watching this, thanks. I appreciated that, because that's how you handle a situation like that, you know, you find out she's underage and then you leave. That was a fun time. I also find myself to be incredibly approachable on public transportation. I don't know what it is. I think my face just screams, I'm friendly and you can say whatever you want to me. I won't do anything. And also I don't usually wear headphones, which maybe is bad. Like, it just happens sometimes that you're traveling alone and you have no headphones, and then you have to listen to the person sitting next to you speak for 45 minutes. So here's 2 stories about those times. Time number 1, which is story number 6. So I was taking the Metro North home, and I was sitting in a 2-seater by myself, and on the Metro North there are the empty spaces where there's no seats in front of the bathroom, so you can kind of like put a bike there, or like lots of luggage. Sometimes when there's not enough seats, like I'll sit on the floor there because I don't give a fuck. And other adults, like, you know, grown people, will stand in those areas. And this one particular time, there was an older man, I mean, he was like 50, 60 years old or something like that. And he was standing there, and he seemed to have a bit of like a hip problem. And you know, I was raised right, so when I see somebody who's having trouble standing and I am a child who's sitting, I obviously don't need the seat, somebody else needs a seat. So I was like, hey sir, like, would you like to have my seat? Like, because I was just gonna go sit on the floor because I don't care. And he's like, oh, thank you so much, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, no problem. And he's like, oh, well, you can just sit next. I was like, oh, I'll just go over there. And he's like, ah, no, like you can sit next to me. So I was like, okay. So I sat next to him in a 2-seater, and he had like a bit of beer in him, like he had a beer on him, and he was a little like tipsy, I think. Like I could smell the drink in his breath. This sounds like it's gonna go really wrong. It's not. It's kind of wholesome. He just like starts telling me about his life for like no reason, and he was like this trombone player in like a really fancy orchestra, and he had traveled like all over the world. You know, it was really cool, and he showed me pictures of his kids, and like it sounded like he was divorced, which was kind of sad, because like I think he was saying his kids like lived across the river or something, and I was like, oh man, like that sucks. But yeah, he just told me all about his life for like 45 minutes, like on the train. And that was fine, it was pretty nice, like I don't mind something like that. However, there was a different time when I got stuck sitting with somebody in a 4-seater who like showed me the Shakespeare play they were in, like on a camcorder. And he's like, wasn't I good? And I was like, yeah. Sure. Looks pretty good. And he was like super conservative, and he was one of these like preachy conservatives where he was like, oh, like you're just like young and that's why you're a liberal, because like you think you can change things, but some things are just facts, like how women should have sex with me, and even though they don't, you know, things like that. Because his dad was like the boss of like the theater company, and this guy was just complaining to me about like how none of the women like wanted to get with him, but there was like other men in the theater company that the women did get with, and he thought they were like scumbags, but like he was a nice guy. And he's like telling me all this. I'm like 16 or 17, and I'm like, I don't need to know this, man. Like, so that was weird. I was subjected to that for a whole train ride, because like it was express and I couldn't leave because like where would I go? But yeah, those were some commuting stories. I have more of them, so if you're interested in that, leave a thumbs up, and if you're really interested in that, hit subscribe. And if you're interested in me doing something specific, comment it down below, dude. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, let me know if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.